Video games, they are either the ultimate distraction or a secret weapon for success. The effect they have, it all depends on how we look at them. Welcome to this episode. I'm Hamrawi, and as someone who still plays video games occasionally, I've realized something important. The lessons from games can revolutionize how we approach productivity and self-improvement. Today, I've got Jimmy from Self-Improvement Gamified channel here to break it all down with me. Trust me, you will never look at gaming the same way again. Jimmy, welcome to the channel.
Hello, glad to be on your channel. Excited for this today.
Yeah, so let's be real. Some self-improvement influencers will tell you to quit games entirely. I don't fully agree. Sure, games can be distraction, but they can also teach us so much about discipline, strategy, and even creativity. Jimmy, what's your perspective? How do you think the way we look at games shapes their impact on our lives?
I think the biggest thing is addiction. So many people look at video games and they have this idea in their mind that they're just something that's all-consuming, that people spend hours upon hours playing without ever taking a break or doing other stuff. But in reality, in moderation, video games can be extremely valuable. And most especially in the fact that they can teach you so many very useful lessons about self-improvement, about life, about productivity. You learn about things like how to be disciplined, how to be focused, how to be consistent. And even more than that, the stories in video games really just like open your eyes to new kinds of ways of thinking and these different characters that can teach you so much as well about life. But really what gamification is all about is applying these lessons from video games and using them in real life.
Exactly. When I play, whether it's Minecraft or something else, I try to reflect what it's teaching me. Things like persistence or resource management. It's not about the game itself, but the mindset you bring to it. Jimmy, do you think gamification is about taking what we learn in games and applying it into real life?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many different things. There's stuff you'd expect like the reward system and like achievements, but there's also plenty of other things that game developers use in these video games to basically hook your brain on them and get you to enjoy playing them. That's why people get so addicted to video games. But the truth is we can actually use these same techniques that the game developers use to kind of get ourselves like addicted to hard work or addicted to productivity.
Yeah, I started gamifying my own life a while ago, and let me tell you, it completely changed how I look at tasks. Suddenly, my to-do list wasn't just boring, it was a quest log. I use a Notion template to track my progress, and each task feels like earning XP. It's simple but so powerful. Jimmy, what do you think gamification works so well, especially for productivity?
Yeah, so it's really just like, as I was saying before, these game developers, it's not just things like zombies or monsters or bosses that get people to enjoy video games. These game developers, they're really designing every element of these games to be just like addictive. And a good example of this is social media, because even though social media, most people don't really view it as like a video game, it uses a lot of these same techniques. Like with the reward system, you're constantly seeing things, or every now and then you're seeing things that you really like and that makes you want to like it and comment and share. And then also there's that progression in the achievement because you want to share your own stuff and get likes and comments from other people. So these gamification principles are really everywhere around you. And some corporations even use them for negative purposes, like kind of like getting you addicted to their products. But again, this can all be used as well for positive purposes to get you to enjoy hard work, essentially.
And it's so motivating. Even on days when I don't feel like doing anything, breaking tasks into smaller game-like steps gets me moving. Jimmy, what would you say to someone who struggles with staying consistent in their life game?
Yeah, so I think a big thing is the mindset that you approach it all with. This is one thing that I teach in lots of the videos that I upload, which is that people kind of view gamification or they view productivity in a negative way. First, like on gamification, a lot of people create these really complicated systems for gamifying their life that is just so confusing that they don't even want to implement it when they get done with it because it's just so much that they have to think about just to gamify it, which is completely defeating the purpose, obviously. You want to make it simple. You want to make it enjoyable to gamify your life. But then the other place where mindset comes in is when you're doing the work itself. If you view your work as something that's terrible, as something that's boring, that you just hate doing, you'll never really get yourself to do it because it's just always going to feel terrible. But if you just shift your mindset, even something as simple as just repeating a mantra to yourself while starting, you can basically convince your brain that the work feels fun, that it feels enjoyable. So mindset is really one of the biggest things people struggle with. And it's really the gateway into gamification, because once you change your mindset, you can change your techniques, you can change your habits, and then you eventually change the results as well.
Yeah, so surely we will leave your video link in the description so the viewers can watch it after watching this video. When we think about games, they're all about progression. You start at level 1 with no resources and build your way up. That's true for every game I've played, whether it's a sandbox game like Minecraft or an action-packed RPG. Jimmy, how can we use this structure of progression to improve ourselves in real life?
So if many things, people kind of jump straight into the deep end. So for example, if they're studying, they tell themselves that they need to study for like 3 hours in the first day, even though they don't often study before then. And then it just makes it feel just extremely overwhelming because you're not used to, studying or being productive for that amount of time. So just like in video games, as you just mentioned, you should start small and just gradually build up day by day. So rather than studying for 3 hours immediately, you can start by just doing it for a couple of minutes or even just 1 minute. It add more and more each day until it gets to the point when you're studying for like maybe 3 hours or more each day. But you have to start small, just like you said. Just like in every video game, you don't face the hardest boss right away, and you shouldn't do the same thing. You should implement a similar thing for productivity.
Yeah, so it's all about creating a system where every small step feels meaningful. For example, I divide my goals into categories: physical quests like working out, mental quests like studying, and creative quests like making content. That way, I'm not just working on one area of my life, I'm leveling up all around. Jimmy, what's your advice for someone setting up their first gamified system?
Yeah, so on that point, I think you bring up a really good point, which is that there's so many different things you can do. There's so many different aspects of your life that you can implement gamification, and a lot of people really find it hard to start, as I was saying before. But I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that it should start out very simple. You should have all these different moving parts, all these different things coming at you right at once. Just start small and find small ways to gamify your life. It could be as simple as just something when you're doing work the next time, just finding ways to make it more fun, make it feel a little bit more like a game, like adding rewards or just putting breaks in between. But then as you gradually move along, you can add these more complex systems and get to the point where you actually are just harnessing your power of motivation for good. But yeah, the biggest thing is starting small and not overwhelming yourself with the system.
Very convincing, my friend. So let's address now something important, which is balance. As students, we hear all the time that gaming is bad, but let's be honest, we're still going to play sometimes. For me, it's about enjoying games without letting them take over. I will play a bit, but I always make sure I'm prioritizing my real-life quests. Jimmy, what do you think is the key to balancing gaming with self-improvement?
I think it's really just all about, as you kind of alluded to already, setting limits and kind of avoiding this. One thing I've heard recently in a video was this idea of dopamine loading, as it's called, or basically rather than playing video games and doing these really enjoyable activities like going on social media at the beginning of the day or throughout the day, just putting them all at the end of the day. And I think this is a really good way to look at video games. Don't view it as something that you have to live with throughout the entire day. View it more as a reward that maybe you do at the end of the day or that you only do in certain time intervals. The goal is just all about moderation and then using these games as a tool for motivation or to teach you new things rather than something that you're addicted to. So yeah, as you said, it's all about creating balance between these different aspects of our lives.
Yeah, true. I strongly agree. The more I've embraced gamification, the more I see life as the ultimate game. You don't just want to win today, you want to keep improving, unlocking new levels and mastering new skills. Jimmy, how do you think gamification helps us not just achieve goals, but grow as individuals?
I think a pretty good analogy for this is one thing I've heard about, which is called the infinite game. Really, everything in life, there's no real endpoint to it. You can't win 100% at business. You can't win at any sport because there always will be another game. You can't win at YouTube. You can't win at school. All you can really do is pursue some kind of higher purpose and just keep trying to improve again and again each day. It's more a video game like Minecraft than a video game like, I don't know, any story-based video game. You're not trying to beat the final boss. You just try to level up and grow day by day. So again, with these gamification things, we shouldn't use final bosses or these final war because it's always going to continue on and on again. It's really just an infinite game is how I recommend looking at it.
Very clear. This conversation has been such an eye-opener. Gamification isn't just a buzzword, it's a tool that can help make your life more productive, fun, and fulfilling. Whether it's turning tasks into quests or learning lessons from your favorite games, there is so much value here. Jimmy, what's one challenge you would give viewers to start gamifying their lives today?
I think if you want to get into gamification, it doesn't even take some kind of specific technique or specific method that you have to start with right away. One thing that I say in some of my videos is this idea of just whatever task you're doing, no matter if it's work, if it's something like getting groceries or doing laundry, just think to yourself, how can you make this 10% more enjoyable? Not like 50% more enjoyable, but just 10% more enjoyable, because just that small challenge can unlock completely new ways of looking at tasks and new ideas for how you can gamify it. But then if you want some more code strategies, I go into a bunch of them on the YouTube videos as well that I know you're about to talk about. So I also recommend just checking them out, because there's so many things that are difficult just to go over here, but with some more full videos could explain it better.
All right, so you've got your challenge. Go crush it and let us know in the comments. And if you're as inspired by this conversation as I am, make sure to check out Jimmy's channel, Self-Improvement Gamified, for more amazing content. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Level up every